In 1952, archaeologists digging near the Dead Sea found the Dead Sea Scrolls, ancient, sacred, priceless religious texts. Very serious, very holy. And then in one specific cave, they found this, a scroll made of copper that basically reads like an ancient guy going, okay, so if anyone finds this, there's a lot of gold buried around here, and I'm not going to explain it very well. Seriously, 64 locations, tons of gold and silver, written like a treasure map, sitting right next to actual scripture, like someone snuck a heist plan into the Bible study group. And in over 70 years, nobody has found a single coin of it. Today, we're solving, or at least seriously attempting to solve, one of archaeology's weirdest and most oddly untouched mysteries. The Copper Scroll was found in Cave 3 at Qumran, near the Dead Sea, as part of the same broader discovery that produced the famous Dead Sea Scrolls, a collection of ancient Jewish texts dating back roughly 2,000 years, found hidden in nearby caves starting in the late 1940s. But almost immediately, researchers realized this particular scroll was fundamentally different. Unlike the other scrolls, which were written on leather or papyrus, this one was engraved onto thin sheets of nearly pure copper, a material choice clearly meant for long-term durability, not everyday religious use. By the time it was found, the metal had corroded and become so brittle that unrolling it normally would have caused it to crumble apart. Researchers eventually had it carefully cut into strips at a university in England in 1955 and 56, allowing the full text to finally be read for the first time in nearly 2,000 years. Once translated, the content turned out to be genuinely unlike any other ancient scroll ever found in the region. Instead of prayers, laws, or religious commentary, the Copper Scroll reads almost entirely like an inventory list, describing 64 separate locations where large quantities of gold, silver, and other valuables were supposedly hidden. The descriptions are strikingly specific and practical, not religious in tone. Locations are described using landmarks like cisterns, tombs, staircases, and specific measurements. For example, directions describing treasure buried a certain number of cubits beneath a particular structure, near a specific tomb or under a defined water channel. The sheer scale described is enormous. Scholars who've tallied the listed amounts estimate the described treasure, if the ancient weight measurements are read literally, could represent many tons of gold and silver combined, an amount that, if genuine, would represent one of the largest hidden treasures ever documented in any ancient text. This is where scholarly opinion splits sharply, and has for decades. One major theory holds that the treasure was real and likely belonged to the Second Temple in Jerusalem. As the Roman military campaign against Judea intensified in the years leading up to the temple's destruction in 70 AD, priests or officials may have hidden portions of the temple's wealth across multiple secret locations. They created this scroll as a permanent, durable record meant to allow the treasure's recovery once the crisis had passed. A recovery that, if this theory is correct, never actually happened. A second major theory takes the opposite position entirely, that the vast quantities described are symbolic, exaggerated, or represent a kind of literary or religious exercise rather than a literal, practical treasure record, pointing out that the sheer scale seems almost implausibly large, even for temple wealth, and questioning why anyone would engrave something this sensitive onto durable, semi-public copper rather than keeping it more discreet. A third, more moderate position suggests the scroll may describe a real, but much smaller and more modest collection of communal or temple-related valuables, with the specific quantities significantly altered or exaggerated somewhere in the process of writing, copying, or translation. Assuming at least part of the treasure was real, why has nothing described in the scroll ever been definitively recovered, despite nearly 70 years of scholars and treasure hunters trying? Part of the problem is the descriptions themselves. The landmarks referenced, specific cisterns, tombs, and structures, existed in a landscape that's been dramatically altered by nearly 2,000 years of construction, destruction, and geological change around Jerusalem and the Judean desert. Many of the exact reference points the scroll relies on simply may no longer exist, or may no longer be identifiable. There's also a genuine translation problem. Certain technical terms and measurement units used in the text remain debated among Hebrew scholars, meaning different researchers have proposed different possible locations for the very same entries, based on different readings of the same ambiguous original wording. Adding to the difficulty, much of the region described sits beneath modern Jerusalem itself, an active, densely populated city where large-scale exploratory excavation searching for hypothetical treasure is, understandably, not something authorities have prioritized or permitted at any real scale. So, where does this actually stand today? Most scholars now lean towards some version of the temple treasure theory being at least partially plausible, given the specific, practical, non-religious tone of the writing, which seems deliberately unlike anything else found at Qumran. At the same time, the sheer scale of the described wealth remains a genuine point of skepticism, with many researchers suspecting at least some exaggeration or measurement ambiguity in the original figures. What makes the Copper Scroll such a rare case in biblical archaeology is that, unlike most ancient mysteries, this one isn't really a question of belief versus skepticism about a religious claim. It's a practical, specific, physically real document describing what genuinely reads like real hidden wealth. And the mystery isn't whether something supernatural happened, but simply whether anyone will ever actually find it. If you found this as fascinating as our previous mysteries, subscribe, because next time we're going even deeper into history's most contested and unresolved stories.